What is going on, everybody? My name is Cole and welcome to my show. Today we are going to be talking about credit scores and how everyone basically sucks at having a credit score. So I was having a perfectly fine Monday afternoon, guys, when I read this article that says millennials have an average credit score of 668. What? Why? You have every possible tool at your disposal to have a good credit score, and then I realized it's probably misinformation, seeing as how nobody really understands how credit scores work, right? Wrong. Now you do, or rather, person watching this video 5 minutes from now will know how to use a credit score. That made sense, right? Okay, so we're gonna talk about how exactly you can get your credit score up to an excellent credit score rating, and it's really not that hard. I think a lot of people don't understand how exactly you can get your credit score higher, and that is part of the reason why people don't have high credit scores. But it's really actually quite easy to do, and you don't need to be extremely rich or have a bunch of assets to have a really high credit score. In fact, you really just need to take a couple of minutes out of your day, be a little bit diligent with your finances, and you can really have a great credit score, okay? So no more excuses. We're getting started with the video right now. Okay, so your credit score is a very important number. It basically determines how likely someone is going to be to lend you money. It's definitely more complicated than that, but that's primarily what it's used for, right? If you go to the bank and you want a bank loan, they're gonna look at your credit score. If you try to get a mortgage for a house, they're gonna look at your credit score. So that is why it's so fundamentally important to understand how credit scores work and to get you on the right track right now. And not to toot my own horn, but I have a very good credit score, and the only reason I do is because I got informed about a year to 2 years ago on how exactly I could get my credit score higher. I'm not a millionaire, I'm not even close to a millionaire. It's really doable, and I think I'm a perfect example of how somebody who is not super well off can still have a really good credit score. Okay, so let's start off with my credit score, and hopefully that will show you how I got to the place that I'm in right now, and that should show you how easy it is, because I'm quite lazy. So if I can get there, you can get there too. So no excuses. Which, by the way, if you guys don't know what your credit score is, that's the first step in fixing your credit score, is understanding what it is and how can you constantly keep track of it. So I use Credit Karma, which is not a sponsor of this video, but they're just really, really fantastic. I have the app, it's totally free to use, and it shows you updates on your credit score and also gives you suggestions on new credit cards and things like that. It's a really great app, and that's what I'm gonna be using to show you my credit score right now. Okay, so right now you see you have two different credit unions, the TransUnion and Equifax right here. We'll just pick this one to start. Okay, so right now my score is at 784, which is definitely an excellent credit score. Big note here, anything above a 740, maybe a 760, is very, very good. And it's not really gonna be a big deal if you have a 740 versus a 750 or a 760. Generally, anything from a 740 on up is considered excellent, and you will get the same kinds of rates as if you had an 800 or like an 850 even. That dip right there was actually a brand new line of credit. I recently got the American Express Platinum card, and whenever they do a credit pull, a hard inquiry is what it's called, where basically a company or a lender or something is pulling your credit and getting an idea of what your credit score is and what your credit history is, so they can figure out if they're going to basically loan you something, or in this case, if I'm going to qualify for the card. And the great thing about this is that credit inquiries go away very, very quickly. So you can see right here, this credit inquiry dipped my score down from some kind of 780 down below 777, and then it went right back up. So that's a great example of how hard inquiries do go away pretty quickly. If you have like 5 or 6 hard inquiries at one time, that can kind of be problematic, because to a lender, it looks like you're suddenly just trying to borrow a bunch of money and try to get a bunch of new credit cards all at once. So it's kind of scary to see that if you're a lender and you look at someone's credit score and they have a bunch of hard inquiries all at one time. But 1, 2, 3 hard inquiries at a time really isn't gonna play that big of a deal, and they go away in a short amount of time relative to your credit history. That's nothing to be super worried about. There are way more important things that we're going to discuss in this video that affect your credit score. Okay, so down here we have credit factors. So payment history, credit card utilization, derogatory marks, average age of credit history, total accounts, and hard inquiries. Okay, so we're going to dive into each of these, right? So payment history. You can see right here in Credit Karma, they label what things are high impact, what things are medium impact, and what things are low impact. So that's great to know too, because you don't want to be spending all this time worrying about things that are very low impact on your credit score if you have things that are high impact on your credit score and those are in the red. That's something that you'd want to fix first because it's going to have the most significant increase to your credit score. Okay, so right here, payment history is pretty self-explanatory. Payment history is just paying your bills on time, right? So you really shouldn't ever have any kind of late payment ever. And especially in today's day and age, we have phones, we have devices that have apps that can notify you. You have a calendar you can set notifications for. You can set up different things that will remind you when you have things due. And that's also why it's so important not to spend more than you can pay on a credit card, for instance, right? So you want to be able to pay off everything, and at least, worst case scenario, you should be able to pay the minimum. So if you have a very big credit card bill and you can't pay it all right now, you don't have enough money, that a lot of people are in that same situation, but at least pay the minimum on time. And it's actually a little bit easier than you might think, because when you have a credit card, you have to pay at least the minimum balance on your card every month or so whenever you get your bill. But that's the thing, is that if you have a bill that's due, it's going to be due in 30-day increments. But then you have another 30 days or so before it actually gets marked on your credit score as something really bad. That's a really important thing to keep in mind. If you have a bill that's late, it won't immediately become a mark on your credit score. But that's why, worst case scenario, you at least want to be paying the minimum balance on your credit card every month. Okay, credit card utilization. This has a big misconception that people don't understand. One thing that is fundamentally important, and it's the reason why I have 6 credit cards and counting. I plan on getting a lot more credit cards. And the biggest reason for that is credit card utilization. So what does this mean? It basically means if you have a credit card, and let's say they give you $10,000 of credit available to you. So at any given time, you could have upwards of $10,000 before you max out your credit card. As you go on and you spend more and more of that balance, you are going to be using more of your credit utilization. So it's the percentage of credit you have available to you that you are using at any given time. So you can see right here on mine that I have a 1% credit utilization, and I have around $5,000 on multiple credit cards right now that I need to pay. Now I have the money to pay that off immediately. I'm not paying it off until it's due, just because that's the way I do my finances, but I make sure I never have a late payment, and I definitely make sure I never keep a balance that's gonna accrue interest, because I don't want to pay 15 to 20% APR that credit cards have. But anyway, long story short, having many lines of credit can be a very good thing because it keeps your credit utilization low. So if I had the $4,000 to $5,000 that I have on my cards right now, and I only had one card with a maximum balance of $10,000, that would be a 50% utilization, and that would completely blow my credit score out of the water and drop it dramatically. So because I have so many different lines available to me, and I have around $31,000 worth of credit available to me at any given time, using about $4,000 of that is really not that much. And so it ends up being a really good impact on my score instead of a potentially bad impact on my score. So next we're going to be talking about derogatory marks and what exactly those are, because I think a lot of people won't know, and I definitely wasn't 100% sure what they were, but I had a guess and it was right. Derogatory marks are basically what happens when, for instance, you have a mortgage and you don't pay it and your home goes into foreclosure, or if you have a credit card payment and it's very, very late, or if you have any kind of collections. That looks very, very bad on your credit history. And that's something that should really never happen, right? So as long as you're being smart about your money, you know, you're not getting a mortgage that you definitely can't afford, you're not getting credit cards and running up the balance and planning on not paying those, it really should not ever happen. But if they do happen, they can stay on your credit history for 7 to 10 years. That's gonna bring you down literally whenever you try to do anything big financially. Next time you try to get a mortgage or a credit card or lease a car, anything like that, those derogatory marks are gonna look very, very bad to you, because they will tell your potential lender, hey, this person was lended money and they did not pay it, or they fell through on their payments. So that just looks very bad. It really shouldn't happen, but if it does happen, that will dramatically influence your credit score. And at the end of the day, it's just something that should not happen. So please make sure that you do not completely forget about payments. Write this down, use your phone, do auto payments even on anything that's really, really big that you're worried that you might forget. That way you can make sure that these derogatory marks don't come up for you and influence your credit score negatively for 7 to 10 years. Okay, so age of credit history. This is the combination of all the different accounts that you have that influence your credit score and how long you have had those, right? So age of credit history is really interesting because it has a medium impact on your credit score. It's something that is substantial. However, there sometimes can be benefits to doing things that might keep your history low. So I'll explain that right now. Okay, so right now, if we go into the age of credit history section of Credit Karma, you can see right here that it has a list of your newest account, your oldest account, and then it averages that out, and that average determines what your credit history age is. So this is a medium impact to your credit score, but again, like I said before, there are some reasons that having a low credit age might not end up being the worst thing in the world, and that would be the exact same reason why mine is not that old. So you'll see that my credit history looks new, even though my oldest account here is 5 years and 7 months old. So the reason why my credit history looks so new is because I do something called credit card hacking. Also referred to as credit card churning, depending on who you listen to. But what this is using these sign-up bonuses for credit cards where you need to spend X amount to get X amount in rewards, and waiting until I have a purchase that I was going to make anyway, and then using a brand new credit card to make that purchase, get that sign-up bonus, and then immediately paying off the credit card with the money I was gonna use for that purchase anyway. So it's a purchase I was already gonna make, but I'm using this brand new credit card to get that bonus in there because it's basically free money at that point. But when you do that and you have a lot of credit cards and you're also trying to get a lot of credit cards to keep your utilization low, every time you get a new credit card in there, it's going to change the average of your credit history. So when I had my first credit card around 5-6 years ago, and then I got another one about a year later, that dramatically turned my credit history a lot younger. And then as time goes on, the more credit cards you get, it's going to make your credit history look younger than it really is. But the longer you have your first account open, the less and less that new card or new account is going to impact you every single time. So that is one big reason why you should never close your first credit card or your first account if you have control of that. So if you have a credit card that you got when you were in college or high school, and it's not a good credit card and you don't use it, don't get rid of it, because I guarantee you if you get rid of it, if you cancel that card, it's going to be taken off your credit history, and then suddenly your credit age is going to be super young, and the only way to get that higher again is to wait. So don't get in that situation. Keep your oldest accounts open, and keep any account open as long as it's not costing you money and it's overall a net benefit to your credit score. All right, and now we have the total account section. So this doesn't matter nearly as much as your utilization or derogatory marks or even your age of your credit, but it's still something that you should look at. And this illustrates how wrong the common misconception is that credit cards are bad for you. So if you look right here, this shows total accounts open. You see that I have one account that is closed. I believe that was like a Walmart credit card that I signed up for on accident. And I also didn't realize the downside of closing an account at that time, because this was many years ago. So that's why I have one closed account. Otherwise, I would not have any. But you'll see right here that the lower amount of accounts you have open, the less beneficial it is. So on Credit Karma's metric right here, you don't even get into the really high green section until you have 21 plus different accounts open. 21 accounts. Can you imagine having 21 credit cards? No, I mean, I could, but that's because I'm kind of a nerd. The average person's not gonna have 21 credit cards, and when you combine that with like one auto payment loan, one mortgage, maybe a couple other things, that still ends up being like 15, 16 credit cards, which the average person is not gonna have. And the big thing that I was always told when I was a kid was that credit cards are bad, you shouldn't have credit cards, and if you do, you shouldn't have a lot of credit cards, because 2, 3, 4 credit cards, that's just a waste and you're gonna use it all. When in reality, these are just tools, and like any tool, you can use it poorly and get a negative consequence, or use it well and get a positive consequence. And here's a good example of how having many different accounts open can be a very good thing to your credit score, not a bad thing. Okay guys, so that is a deep dive into my credit score and how I was able to get a 784 credit score and how anybody else can do it too. I'm a pretty average person when it comes to finances. Definitely don't have millions of dollars or anything like that. And I hope the big takeaway is that, you don't need to have a crazy portfolio or be worth millions of dollars to have a good credit score. And you definitely shouldn't wait until you have a family and you want to get a house to start thinking about your credit score. So that's why knowing what a credit score is and exactly how to influence that score is so important. So I hope the key takeaway from this video is just that it's very easy and you should get started right away. And lastly, if you guys don't mind, if you found this video to be educational and informative and you want to see more things like it, please like the video. It helps it get seen by more people on YouTube. And if you want to see more videos about finance, please subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to post as often as I possibly can, and I guarantee it'll be well worth your time to become a subscriber. So with that, thank you guys so much for watching and have a great day.